What's up? Welcome back to the Metalhead Car Show. I have been looking forward to this video because today is March 1st, and that means Bruce Dickinson has finally released the Mandrake project.
Across the shining seas, eyes of creatures follow me.
But not just that, about a week ago, Bayley released his newest album, Circle of Stone.
Is it really me?
This being the first time ever the two singers actually released solo albums around the same time. And today, we're not just going to review both of them, but we're going to determine which one is better. Which Iron Maiden singer takes the cake with their solo album. So, let's get right into it. I listened to the Mandrake project album the most recently, so we're going to start there. This is Bruce Dickinson's first solo album since 2005 with Eternity of Souls. And he has recently stated this album was in production for 14 years, which means when Iron Maiden was actually touring on the Final Frontier album in 2010-2011, he was starting progress on this album. We didn't really know of its existence at all until Book of Souls album came out in 2015, which we knew If Eternity Should Fail was actually written by Bruce and Roy Z. So despite this album's been very quiet in production, we've only kind of known about it until fairly recently, all things said and done. How does it do? Well, at first I think the album is just a little bit challenging. And what I mean by that is when you released the first single, which was The Afterglow of Ragnarok, which is a awesome single and a great opener. It's not a doom metal song, but it had this kind of very doomy feel to it, this progressive feel to it, and just being a really dark, heavy song. So personally, that's the vibe I got from it. That's the vibe I figured the album was gonna follow. And it was to an extent. You see, the second single he put out, which was Rain of the Graves, almost had a very ghost feel to it. Which, yeah, I'm sure some people are gonna hate that I said that, but also... yeah, I stand by what I said. And obviously, I'm not calling it a bad song, I love Ghost, but it had a very different vibe to Afterglow of Ragnarok. You had some songs that were acoustic ballads, you had some songs which almost had like a Scorpions vibe to it, you had some songs that came across as very modern songs for Bruce Dickinson, and then you had stuff like the ending, Immortal Beloved, which was the super dramatic, mid-tempo, 10-minute song, which, when it was about 30 seconds in, I wasn't really sure if that was the way to end the album, but god damn, it did a great job. But the one song you need to talk about was Eternity Has Failed, which I think there's be a lot of fans going after this song instead of the rest of the album due to, well, Iron Maiden technically released this song 9 years ago. So what's my thoughts on it? Well, it's interesting to see kind of the evolution of the song because, yeah, this song was originally written by Bruce Dickinson and Roy Z. So seeing Iron Maiden's take on it and then seeing Bruce and Roy Z come back on it and do their thing is really cool. The changes they made are almost making the song more raw. They lose the theremin, but also go for instruments that are more correct for the vibe of like an ancient Mayan civilization. You have these keyboard parts after the guitar solo, which Bruce kind of compared something on the album to like Rainbow Rising, and I think it absolutely has to be this. My only complaint I had with this album was it didn't feel super connected. It didn't feel like all the songs were made to be on the Mandrake project. This album that started with Afterglow of Ragnarok and had this kind of sci-fi, mythical, otherworldly concept to it. But the thing is, the Mandrake project isn't about science fiction and otherworldly concepts. What it's about is power, it's about abuse, it's about the struggle for identity. And once you think of it that way, and once you realize its true concepts, all of these songs work really well together. And not just do they work really well together, despite they have very different vibes to them, the album actually flows really well start to end. And what I said about the final song, Sonata Immortal Beloved, is it was a ballsy choice to pick a mid-tempo 10-minute song to close the album off. Usually you want that high to leave people just on the edge of their seat, but it doesn't need to do that. It flows out on just drama, supposed to being completely in your face, supposed to make the most epic, high energy thing they possibly could. They ended on this dramatic note that fit the album of abuse and power really well. So when I think about the Mandrake Project album, it's awesome. It's such a good album. It took me more than one listen to really figure it out, but it's a really, really good album. If you weren't into the singles or Rain in the Grave kind of threw you off a little bit, check out the album, listen to it start to finish. You won't be disappointed. But also, this video isn't just about Bruce, it's also about Blaze Bayley. Now, Blaze Bayley released Circle of Stone on February 23rd, so just about a week ago. And again, as I said, this is the closest the two singers have ever been to putting out a solo album at the same time. Circle of Stone is now the 5th album Blaze Bayley has done with essentially having Absolva as his backing band. And you can kind of tell they've now been working together for a little while because they are so tight. Chris Appleton is a phenomenal guitarist, an awesome songwriter, and you can see now that him and Blaze have been working together for a long time now, the instruments, the vocals are getting tighter, just the overall feel of the instrumentals are just getting more and more solid every single album. And with Blaze's vocals, as he's getting older, his vocals are getting a bit deeper, but with that he works with the deepness and he pulls it off so well. So he's not trying to do these high notes to compete with Bruce Dickinson like he was when he was in Iron Maiden, but he's really working those low notes and adding in these growls to them whenever he can. But also, much like the Mandrake Project album, this is a concept album. It's this album where you are entering this dream world, which you get in touch with your ancient ancestors and what it was like in their life. Blaze Bayley did it in an interesting manner. This album's kind of split up into two halves. The first half being what is more traditionally a Blaze Bayley album. And look at some of the lyrics from Mind Reader, Tears in the Rain, The Broken Man, A Year Beyond This Year. The songs are about being strong. The songs are about no matter how hard you try to knock me down, I will always get back up. I will always be stronger. I will always learn from what happened, and I will always succeed. Because Blaze Bayley left Iron Maiden with not the best reputation. It was a bad time for metal, and a lot of fans didn't like him in Iron Maiden. So going from his time in Iron Maiden, which is his most relevant time up to that point, he is now starting his own solo thing with not that strong of a following. What I'm getting at is Blaze Bayley has had a difficult time at doing a solo thing, and it's only been the past 10 to 12-ish years where he's really picked it up. He's really got back on his feet, and he's doing the best he's ever been doing, which honestly, as a fan of him, I'm so happy to see. So here are the lyrics of "You Don't Know Me, You Won't Break Me." It shows. It shows that he can do it, and so can you. And that's the message in Blaze Bayley albums. But this album works in a cool way. As I said, you have one side which is the Blaze Bayley album, and you have one side which is Circle of Stone. So you go to The Broken Man, which is kind of the end of the Blaze Bayley album, and it feels like it'd be a good closing song. And then it just goes quiet for a bit, and you hear the Call of the Ancestors, which leading more to the Scottish, British sort of thing. It starts with bagpipes. That builds into electric guitar and harmonized guitar as we go into the modern world from this dream world. After the Call of the Ancestors, it goes into Circle of Stone, which is actually the first single on the album. And it's one of the very few Studio Blaze albums where he actually has a guest singer on it.
An illusion, a shadow, a spirit, a dream. I exist, I am real.
I'd pronounce his name, but I'm going to butcher it, so here's his name. He's the singer of a band called Wolf, and he did a brilliant job of singing as the voice of the ancestors. And for someone with such a high voice, he blends into Blaze Bayley's deep vocals so well. But the album itself does such an incredible job of just keeping the energy up and going into these songs about being connected to your ancestors and fighting the battles with them that they couldn't fight originally. And it all closes off with Until We Meet Again, leading towards the main character of the story's death, in which case he'll then meet with his ancestors once again. It's a really unique concept album because you kind of have two ending songs that both work really well, and you have two intro songs that also both work really well. And it's not like they clash. Both these have to be played live really well with no real issues, and I can't wait to see it. I can't wait till Bayley returns to Canada once again. So, who's the winner? Well, it's hard. See, when I did this kind of video last time, when I did the Overkill versus Metallica, I walked in knowing Overkill was absolutely the winner. I really didn't like 72 Seasons, and many months later, I still don't love that album, as when Scorched is dope. But both these albums are absolutely solid. Neither is bad, neither is a weak album, and it makes this very tricky. Because they're sort of apples to oranges in the case of one is a lot darker, a lot moodier, a lot more dramatic, and the other is a lot more high energy, a bit more in your face, and one of them tries to connect with you as it's telling you this story. So both albums do a great job as a concept album, despite Circle of Stones done a little bit differently. Both albums have incredible songs on them. Both albums have incredible work from their singers. So I can't really fault any of them on anything, but what I'm gonna need to do is ask, which album am I absolutely gonna go back and listen to first? And that goes down to the album I've just had more fun with, the album I've wanted to hear more, and the album that really just hits me in the right spots and I'm just simply enjoying more. And that is Bayley's Circle of Stone. I simply find the album more fun, and in which case ends up being more enjoyable. A lot of those guitar riffs, a lot of those vocal melodies just hit me in the right spot. I'll just catch myself just actually headbanging to, which truthfully I don't do for anything. Although, Afterglow of Ragnarok does the exact same thing. More of this album doesn't. And simply because I enjoy the album more, and I have more fun with it, and I want to go back and listen to it more, Circle of Stone wins. But I want to know, what do you think? If you've heard both albums, which album takes the cake for you and why? Let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed the view seen. I post on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I'll see you later.